We're going to talk about how to lucid dream. How do you have your first moments of lucidity? How do you stabilize them? What do you do in lucid dreams? What can you do? Lucid dreaming is not that difficult. You just need to be consistent with the training. Don't overcomplicate it or look for 100 different resources. Just get a few techniques that are tried and tested, put them to use, and then once you have that first lucid moment, you'll know that it's possible and you'll trust that you're going to get there. Lucid dreaming is a skill you train, and we're going to talk about the training that you need to do it. This is Deep Psychology. I'm Ross. We blend spirituality, psychology, and self help to shine a light on your inner workings. Listen if you want to get real, powerful insights and avoid all the fluffy nonsense that abounds in self help circles. You'll know more about how your psychology works than 99% of people on the planet. Find me on all the major podcasting platforms or head to deep-psychology.com, visited by thousands every month, for tons of free resources. And I'm now on Patreon. I'd really appreciate you supporting the show, and in return you can access exclusive perks. Alright, time for the show. Now, this isn't a comprehensive guide. These are just the essentials because it would take a long time to explain everything, but it's a good way to get started. I actually recommend the book A Field Guide to Lucid Dreaming. Very good book. If you have a search for that, you'll find it. And that a lot of these techniques that I'm going to go through come from that book. So you might want to go out and buy it if you're really serious about this. Let's talk about the need for training. So as I said, lucid dreaming is a skill that you train. As mentioned, our default state in our dreams is basically to be asleep, not literally asleep, but almost we're dreaming, but we don't know that we're dreaming. Isn't that really weird? If you think lucid dreaming is weird, have a think about the fact that most of the dreams you have, you're not aware that you're having them. You think they're actually real life. That's really weird. So what's the problem is that when you start lucid dreaming, when you first get interested in it, you're going to wonder how it's possible. This is kind of the same with any new skill. But lucid dreaming, because it seems quite elusive and a bit strange, and it can feel like in the dream world you don't have any control. So you might wonder, well, how am I supposed to train myself if I don't have any control? And don't worry about that. It's a skill you train, and you will train it with the right amount of dedication and practice. The training is actually really easy. Like the techniques, there's nothing especially complicated about them. The trick is just to do them on a regular basis and to make it a part of your life. And I can guarantee that if you keep up, you'll get there. In the last few years, I've had spells of regular lucidity, like every night having lucid dreams, and even several times in one night. And when I first got into lucid dreaming, I was very interested and excited, but I was also very skeptical. Like I just didn't understand how I would do that. It didn't seem possible for me. But when I was really consistent with my training, I started having moments of lucidity, not full blown lucid dreams where I can control things and fly and whatnot, but I had just moments I'd like, oh, I'm dreaming, I'm actually dreaming, and I know I'm dreaming. I had those moments and I realized that getting proficient at lucid dreaming was just a matter of time and effort. So I hope the same happens to you. Look for these little moments of lucidity in your dreams, and you'll know that full blown lucid dreaming is possible. So that was just to motivate you. What actually is the training? There's two categories here to the training. The categories are methods in waking life and methods when you're dreaming. So let's talk about waking life first, because this is where it starts. This is how you take control. And there's a few really simple things you can do that if you do this for a few weeks or a month or 2 months, you're likely going to have at least a moment of lucidity. And that can be quite a shocking moment, but life changing because you realize that this whole world is available to you. The first one, and this is really good because there's a clear time to do it. The first one is journaling. There's a clear time you want to do your journaling. You want to do this every morning. And what you're going to do is when you wake up in the morning, before you do anything else, before you even go to the bathroom, well, it depends. If you really need to go, go. But really, one of the very first things you do, no matter what, should be writing down your dreams. It's really not complicated. Um, Basically, what you need to do is you need to grab a notebook or a piece of paper, just anywhere you can write it down, and places you can look back to. A notebook is probably the best in that case. What you want to do is just remember all your dreams and write down everything that you can remember about them. Things like the plot of the dream, where were you, what happened, who was there, what was it light, was it dark, what emotions were you feeling, what emotions were the other people expressing, as I've spoken about. In my previous dream episodes, these are really important factors. And what's going to happen is you do this enough, you'll probably get to the stage where you can remember 3 or 4, even more dreams every day if you do it consistently enough. Even if that doesn't seem possible to you right now, trust me, it will. You'll get there. What you're going to notice is that there's patterns to your dreams. This is why I said that dreams aren't random, because it's not just the fact that you create them, it's the fact that you create them in a patterned way, repetitively. So you're going to notice that there's 5 to 10. That even seems like quite a lot. For me, it's half a dozen dreams that just repeat over and over again. It's not the same dream. I'm not doing the same thing, but to me, the message is the same. To me, the reason behind it is always the same. And that creates like a certain pattern. So you want to spot these patterns. You want to look out for them because this will help your recall, and it will also help you identify when you're dreaming, because I find these dream patterns, they're things I don't usually experience. So let's say I dream, this is quite a common one for me, is dreaming about friends from the past. I never see these people, I've not seen them for 10 years. So if I notice that that's a pattern in my dreams over the course of a few weeks when I'm writing my dreams down every morning, it then can act as a way to trigger lucidity, because I realize, oh, I'm uh, I'm dreaming about my friends, but I've not seen them in 10 years, so obviously I'm dreaming. Now we're going to get to that in a minute, but that's why you want to do this regularly and why you want to start spotting patterns. Let's talk about dream checks. Now, the best way to explain a dream check is maybe with through film. Have you ever seen the film Inception? If you've not seen the film, it's Leonardo DiCaprio is like the protagonist, and this is really a fantastic film. It's, in terms of dreams, it's not really. It's kind of got a few interesting bits when it comes to dreams, but it's more just an action film. Now, I'm not going to spoil the plot for you, but basically, DiCaprio's character, because of his job, he needs to do dream checks all the time. Now, what he has is he has like a spinning top. So what he does is he spins it, and if the top doesn't fall, it means he's dreaming. So that's his dream check. Now, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna encourage you to go and buy a spinning top. That's not what I'm saying here. But it gives you an idea of what a dream check is. A dream check is basically, in everyday life, you check whether you're dreaming at that moment in time. And there's a few ways to do this. The first thing you need to do is to set up a time when you're going to do this. Um, a time or a moment, or have some sort of triggering event. Like, I've heard of people doing it every hour on the hour. So 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, you do a dream check. A triggering event of some kind. So I don't know, if you walk into the kitchen, that's a triggering event of some kind. So you do a dream check then. Or if you leave your house, that's a time where you could do a dream check. just something that acts as like a little trigger for you to do a dream check a few times a day. I don't think you need to do it every hour. To me, that unless you want to be like a super pro lucid dreamer, I just a few times a few times a day is probably enough. Um, you've got to have this because it'll help it become a habit. If you have some sort of triggering event where it's a time of day or something that I just said there, um, it's going to be a lot easier for it to become a habit. And if it becomes a habit, it's much more likely that you're going to do them in your dreams. This is what happens. You end up doing them in your dreams. It might sound weird, but you'll automatically ask the question, am I dreaming? Or you'll do another one of the dream checks. And this is basically how you induce lucidity. So take it very seriously. What kind of dream checks can you do? First one is one that I used to do a lot, is to look at your hands. So let's say the clock strikes 12 o'clock, you're doing dream checks every hour on the hour. As I said, that's maybe a bit excessive, but let's just use that example. You look at your hands and you basically try and see if there's anything different about them. And that might seem very weird, but in your dreams, your hands tend to be a bit different. Like sometimes you can have six fingers, sometimes they sort of move around, sometimes they just don't look like your hands. So what you want to do is you want to look at your hands and just see if do they look like how your hands usually look in everyday life? That sounds very weird, but it's very effective, and I've used this method, and so have people close to me. Look around you. This is part of my current method. So what you basically do is you look around you. Let's say you enter your kitchen or you go outside, and that's the time for your dream check. You basically just look around you and you just see, is everything normal? Like I'm looking around this room right now and everything seems to be as it usually is. There's nothing, there's no one here that shouldn't be here. There's no objects here that I didn't know were here already. So everything seems fine. So I can conclude that I'm not dreaming. That's a powerful one. And that's what I do now. Actually, my current method is just to look around me and feel it. What does it feel like? Because dreaming has a very different feel to it than everyday life. And when I look around and I just, I get a sense of where I am and I get a sense of how I'm feeling, I know whether I'm dreaming or not. The next one is to ask, am I dreaming? Literally just as you're looking around or as you're checking your hands, you can combine it. Or even just sit. Don't do anything in particular. Just stand wherever you are. Just take a moment and ask, am I dreaming? It's helpful if you've had moments of lucidity already because you'll get a better sense of what a dream feels like to you. But just getting into the habit of asking that question as well is really powerful. Another one is trying to explain how you got here. So let's say you have your triggering event. Maybe you've sat down for a meal and you're going to do a dream check. I don't know. I'm just giving you examples, okay? Come up with your own that suit your life. You sit down for a meal, you realize you're going to do a quick dream check. Literally 30 seconds is all you need. Just try to explain how you got to that particular place. If you're in your waking life, you'll be able to explain quite easily. Like you've cooked your meal, you've taken it through from the kitchen, you've sat down at the dining table. Okay, that's it done. That's your dream check done. What happens in dreams is that often we just end up in places um, quite spontaneously. So by asking the question and forcing yourself to explain how you got there, you're basically distinguishing, am I dreaming or am I in waking life? If you're dreaming, you'll probably find it quite hard to explain how you got there. Another one is jumping up and down on the spot. So in dreams, basically gravity is a bit different. So if you jump, you might not come down, or you might take longer to come down, or it'll just have a different feel about it. What you can do is you can just jump up and down on the spot a couple of times. Ask yourself, am I dreaming right now? And If it feels normal to you, you're probably not dreaming. If it feels different, you probably are. And there are many more dream checks out there. Those are just 5 or 6 to get you started, and just experiment. You don't need to use all of them. You really don't. Just 1, 2, or 3. As long as you do it consistently a few times a day for a few weeks, couple of months, you'll definitely start having moments of lucidity. Intention. Intention's another one, and it's something that it's kind of fallen by the wayside for me, to be honest, recently, but it used to work really well. Basically, before you go to sleep, you want to just remind yourself that you want to have a lucid dream. In fact, you should say, I am having a lucid dream. I am having a lucid dream. And think about what you're going to do when you lucid dream. Think about how you're going to feel, and just let yourself free associate around that and kind of get excited. Get it, try and feel that you've already done it, and maybe do a dream check or two as you're doing this. It just reminds you to, I don't know how, it must go into your short-term memory somehow, but it reminds you that when you're sleeping, you're going to be, or when you're dreaming, you're going to try and be lucid. And for me, this has worked really well. And finally, there's the wake back to bed process. Now, basically, what this is it's taking advantage of the fact that our lucid dreams tend to come later in the night. So the idea is that you wake up 6 hours after you go to sleep, then you get up for 20 minutes, and then you go back to bed. And then that period from when you go back to bed and when you wake up again, that's when you're going to have most of your lucid dreams, or most of your dreams, and potentially lucid dreams. Now, this is pretty hardcore, I understand that. But if you wake up during the night already, let's say you wake up at 3 or 4 o'clock every night, sometimes that happens to me. Um, Actually get up, maybe do some dream checks, maybe read over your journal, your dream journal a little bit, and then go back to bed. And then you're much more likely to have lucid dreams. The authors of the book I recommended, A Field Guide to Lucid Dreaming, this one seems to work particularly well for them. So if you're really serious about lucid dreaming, I would really give the wake up, go back to bed method a try. All right, so all of this training, what's going to happen is it's going to start spilling over. It might sound weird, but trust me, it will spill over into your dreams. What you're going to start doing is you're going to start asking the question, am I dreaming? You're going to start doing your dream checks automatically in dreams, and that is mostly how you're going to have lucid dreams. I imagine that people who've been doing them a long time might become lucid spontaneously, but how it's happened for me 90% of the time, if not more, is I've done a dream check in my dreams, and I've realized I'm dreaming, and then at that point I'm lucid dreaming. So just trust in the process, make it regular, and take it seriously, and they will spill over. Now, what's going to happen is, especially the first few times, I still get really excited, but the first few times you're going to get really excited that you're lucid dreaming. And this is good because, it's a genuine achievement. It's something that most people will never do. But the problem is that at the start, your dreams aren't going to be very stable. A good analogy for this is a professional diver versus a newbie diver. Who's going to be able to hold their breath under the water for longer? Obviously, the professional diver would be. And this is what it feels like in lucid dreams at the start. It feels like you're a bit of a newbie diver. It feels like you've got some air, and then you lose it, and you're gone. You need to get up and get out of the water. This is what happens in dreams. It's like you don't have clarity. The dream isn't stable. It feels like you're sort of clinging on to it, trying not to let it go. This sounds really weird until you experience it, and then you'll know what I'm talking about. So the part of it is learning to hold your breath longer, metaphorically, to stabilize the dream and be in the dream longer, to be lucid longer. And there's a few ways to do this. There's a few ways to prevent this fading from happening. The first thing is to actually do things. Like don't just get all excited because you're lucid dreaming. Start doing things. trying to remain lucid while you're doing them. Don't get sucked into them and forget that you're actually lucid. Try to remain lucid. By engaging the dream in some way, maybe you speak to someone, maybe you start walking, maybe you start touching objects that are around you, maybe you travel to a different place. By doing things in the dream, you engage it and you stabilize it more. The second is to shout clarity, stabilize, or lucid. So, literally in the dream, when you realize you're lucid dreaming and it's fading, perhaps, you can shout any of those three words out loud. And this can help just bring that clarity and that stability that you're looking for. Another method is to spin around. Sounds kind of weird, but if you literally just spin around where you're standing, perhaps uh, shouting stabilize, clarity, or lucid at the same time, this really helps with the stability. It seems to like ground your body more. And that can be a problem with lucid dreaming, is feeling like you've not got control of the body and that the dream is just it's beyond your reach. Now you might be wondering, if your dreams are stable, what do you do? Now the thing is about lucid dreaming, you can pretty much do whatever you want. It depends on your intention. Like, my intention is to understand my psychology to a very deep level. So the themes of what I do are based around that. We'll probably do another episode in this series on what to do in lucid dreaming, what the possibilities are, what can you do. For now, just know that the rules of the game are very different. So you can kind of do whatever you want, and it's up to you. It's up to what do you want to get out of lucid dreaming. Just give it respect is all I say, because you can discover a lot about yourself and you can use lucid dreams to grow as a person. I can tell you that. All right, those are the things you need to know about how to lucid dream. Just a word before I go. Lucid dreaming is not that difficult. You just need to be consistent with the training. I'm really hammering on this point, but don't overcomplicate things here. You don't need 100 books. Literally, just the one book that I read was enough for me. And this is really the summary of what I've learned. I would recommend you go out and buy it, but I distilled it down. Don't look around for resources and websites and all of this. Just get a few techniques, get a few dream checks, get a few ways of stabilizing them, and put them to use consistently. Once you have your first lucid moment, you'll know that it's possible. And having a lucid moment it's really not that difficult. It might seem really out there and like you can't grasp it, you don't understand how can I possibly lucid dream. Please just be consistent and push through your doubts, and you'll have that first moment, and then you'll know it's possible. All right, that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Do support me on Patreon. Head to the website deep-psychology.com. It's now available in 15 foreign languages as well. If you're not a native English speaker, you want to read it in your native language, go ahead and do that. And do subscribe to the channel. I've got 2 videos coming weekly for the rest of the year, I promise you, and we've got so much more amazing content to come. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon.